So strong.
To any Guardian who is within range or has discovered this report, my name is Erik Vitez. I'm a former Warlock of the Nananon Orders. I'm creating these recordings for you to hear so that you may learn more of the world that we live in. While it may be a creed preached throughout the centuries, it would not be repeated if it didn't hold merit. In this report, I will be discussing the nature of our most recent enemy to arrive in the system, the Red Legion, and the Emperor of the Cabal, Calus. The latter entry, however, will remain in quotation marks until further evidence is gathered suggesting the contrary, for reasons I will explain later. Despite what Commander Zavala may tell his subordinates, we won the Red War entirely based on luck, along with most of the other conflicts the city has been involved in. Had it not been for the existence of a Shard of the Traveler, and the Guardian acquiring whatever fledgling source of light they could from it, we would have lost. The Almighty would have obliterated the sun, and us along with it, and Gaul would have been deemed Emperor of the Universe. Which is one of the reasons why I am making this, so that you understand our enemy. Knowing what they are like and who they were is key to defeating any enemy. In understanding their culture and history, we are able to greater understand how they will think and how they will act. The Cabal arrived in the Sol system at an unknown time. However, it is assumed that due to a lack of resistance, they were capable of establishing multiple bases on the surface of Mars, which to me means that they arrived roughly in the first few decades or centuries after the collapse. Yet, based on a report I uncovered on the Red Planet from a fallen ghost, it seems that Gaul's leadership was a relatively new concept. One of the last transmissions read, "There is a vast empire behind these creatures, many star systems away. Some pledge allegiance to that far empire, obeying their ancient marching orders. Some do not. They disagree among themselves about the answers. I wish arguing Cabal on no one. They slam their plated bodies into each other with horrendous roars. Intelligence gathering has never been so painful." Based on this and other information gathered from the Cabal installation surrounding Nessus, I placed Gaul's coup roughly after the establishment of the Cabal exclusion zone, or whenever the Ghost's final recording of these events had stopped. Yet, I have a feeling that this is just an assumption based on recent events. It must have been earlier, as the Cabal's expansionism didn't start until Gaul became Dominus. Damned things. Don't have any dates. Yet, we should discuss the nature of this coup, and why it happened. In an unknown star system, light years from our own, an unknown number of years ago, a Cabal hero by the name of Acrius, who, according to the Cabal, was a hero who sought to possess the sun, and he succeeds, and becomes Emperor. The scholar of the Iron Lords and a colleague of mine, Tyra Karn, notes a lack of subtlety in the legend. If it appears to be true, this Emperor was not followed by a successor, leading to the creation of the Praetorate, a militaristic aristocracy whose power came from the legions under their command, who lacked citizenship. Much like how some soldiers were hired by the Romans, they were more loyal to the commanders than the empire they were meant to serve. Which leads into the rise of Calus as an emperor. Calus himself challenges Guardians atop the golden planet-consuming starship known as the Leviathan. His vessel is vast and contains treasures unlike any wielded in this system by mortal men. His promise to Guardians is to make them into something more. For the hunters, he wishes for them to be his navigators, assassins, and treasure hunters, for lost repositories that house the Empire's greatest secrets. The Warlocks, he desires for them to become his ambassadors, technologists and warrior scientists, to discover the secrets of the lost worlds his empire once ruled. The Titans, it appears that he desires them above all others. He wishes for them to be the taskmasters, to train his armies both in personal combat and warfare, to be civilized in peace, yet vicious in conflict, and to be selfless, yet persistent in battle. I have lived and died enough times, Guardian, to know when to feel uncertain. I have infiltrated the Leviathan and stalked its halls, hearing whispers of these things. While it may seem out of character for a despot to desire what defied him, it is that defiance that is the reason we are still alive. In a recording attached to a weapon retrieved from the Vex hive mind trapped on board the Leviathan, Callus makes it clear to the wielder.
I have come to admire how you rally against the impossible. It is not your continual success that amuses me. Your light assures victory. It is your refusal to kneel. You fight and you die without a second thought. For what? Personal glory, wealth, the wretched denizens of your refugee city. You have made bitter foes of races older, nobler, and worthier than you. You struggle so vainly and valiantly when you have so little. When you are so little. Everything this universe has thrown against you and you still persist. I could finish you, and you would not be at my side at the dimming of the world. You, the guardian of guardians. If I wished it, you would die your final death. But I won't. Why? Because I'm in love.
Love is a word Callus uses liberally, and it is because of his desire to admire that we hear it so much. He admires because he expects admiration in return, yet his narcissism is something that makes him dangerous. He considers himself godlike in stature and power, yet this desire to be loved and admired led to some of his more benevolent actions as emperor. In a letter that I had recovered, Callus wrote, "In you, I also seek the capacity for wonder and the appetite for greatness. When I took the throne, my people bled to feed a corrupt military elite. I chased those praetorate scum from their dens of iniquity. I offered their stolen riches back to my cabal, and vowed to celebrate our existence in the highest luxury, and to set an example for my empire. No privileged few, but decadence for all. Friend, I was betrayed. I could have forgiven the traitors, for I am an emperor of limitless cheer. I swear on my own silk and treasure that although my betrayers were as close to me as my own daughter, still I would have forgiven them, had they not also betrayed my people. They gave my cabal to brutal military rule. Now, armored tyrants stain golden Torbatil with their dark designs. Gaul is the epitome of their creed. An innocent orphan simmered in their poisoned hate. He will infect the whole cabal with his emptiness. I have foreseen it. His life will be a quest to fill the hollow in his soul. In attempting to deal with the Emperor, be cautious, as he has been imbued with psionic abilities. Powers so immense he is capable of creating an entire alternate dimension. Within it, 3 guardians are trapped, while the others must free them. The exact nature of his strength in these powers rival that of the Scion Flayers, who were deemed responsible for the tidal locking of Phobos, potentially exceeding it. While I remain skeptical about the idea that the Scions had managed to lock an object into orbit, few other conclusions can be drawn on the matter. As my study on the Cabal progressed, I began to wonder more about the nature of the Consul who had raised Gaul to be the instrument of his revenge. The Consul was a person who benefited heavily from the Praetorate, and as a result, was cast out by Callus. This eventually led to him finding a young Cabal child, abandoned due to his small size and skin bleached by the solar radiation. The Consul raised him to be the instrument of his revenge. That much was obvious to Gaul, and he considered it to be a fair exchange, an upbringing for a purpose. It was in a gladiatorial arena. His style of fighting was what attracted Callus to him. He was smaller than his other competitors, and as a result was an underdog, who was able to best any opponent the Cabal threw at him. Much like how Callus grew to love the Guardians, he too loved Gaul, and saw that his talents were being wasted. Thus, Callus promoted Gaul to Primus of the Red Legion, giving him the moniker of Ghost Primus. This Ghost Primus, then at the height of his power, made his move. He arrested Callus and a number of others belonging to his court, and sent them out aboard the Leviathan on an unknown course through space. It was there that Dominus Gaul became the Emperor of the Cabal, and sought to return the Cabal to the older ways, the ways of the Praetorate. Something that I've been failing to mention was, at some point, the Consul, and I still remain skeptical about how he learned this, learned that the Traveler existed, and of its capabilities. How the Consul knew will remain unknown until any new information can be gathered. Yet, what I do know is that it was long enough for the Cabal to construct both the Cage and the Almighty. The Almighty, I can only guess, was built before the Cage, as Gaul didn't set his sights on the Sol system until the events of the Taken War. 2 years later, he arrived, and took us completely by surprise. His assault, as I had stated, worked perfectly. The city wasn't armed well enough to deal with the Cabal Armada in atmosphere, much less one of that size. I won't recap the events of his assault, as that isn't the main focus of this report. Yet, I personally believe that a bolstering of city defenses would only yield a net positive result. The ousting of Callus ushered in the age that the Cabal are now known for in this system. A warmongering race, conquering planets as they see fit, and crushing all who dare oppose them. Something, as aforementioned, Callus deemed to be the ultimate betrayal of his people. His starship, as I said, was sent on a course, yet, as I have recovered from some of Callus's personal logs, they found something out there. The Leviathan came to a halt before a wall of infinite void. It could go no further, as the navigation system had suffered a cataclysmic failure. The course that the conspirators had set crossed a space that simply didn't exist. I don't know how long we traveled, years, millennia. Time had ceased to have meaning as I wallowed in the despair of my exile. But this event shook me out of my stupor. At the edge of the universe, we had found something. No, we had found a nothing. From the seat of my observation chamber, I stared into the perfect void. Only I, a god, could understand what I had witnessed. It was a thing greater than myself, and if such a thing exists, then I too can become more. What this abyss was that he saw, I have no idea, and frankly, part of me hopes that we never find out. It was as if the stars that the vessel had found were snuffed out, extinguished, and they had come across a space that wasn't real. If I still hadn't opened a comm line to Ikora, I would have told her this. Yet, I don't. What exactly was it that stared back? I need to reflect deeper on this. Cabal military command structure. It appears can be read as follows. The Emperor or Dominus is at the top, and all legions below them go like this. The Primus is the leader of the legion, like a field general. Below him are the Valus, which command smaller sections of the Cabal military. Beneath them are the Brachus, or like the lieutenants. Then the Centurions, field officers, tactical leaders of small squadrons, and oddly, the only members who are allowed to have an energy shield. At the very bottom, we have the Cabal foot soldiers. Phalanxes, legionnaires, and colossi all fill this category. I noticed that I failed to place the scions in this hierarchy, but that's only because I don't exactly know where they fall. Scion flayers are very high up, well hidden, and an absolute asset, while the other scions seem to fall on a lower end of the spectrum. I suppose it just depends on how intelligent they are compared to the others that can net them higher places in Cabal command. Now, I believe I understand the idea behind the Cage. In a communication between a Skyburner intelligence officer and the Primus of their legion, I appear to have uncovered the origin of the idea. I recovered this in my exploration of the Dreadnought and Mars bases bearing the Skyburner sigils. Guardian activity in the Freehold AO has exploded across recent campaign seasons. Tactical attrition exceeds both frictional projections and our ability to regenerate losses. New tactics are necessary. The primary threat is the Guardian's individual counter-attrition capability. Guardians can be rebuilt after even total disintegrative trauma. This capability is provided by a small autonomous drone unit called a dead person, translation unclear. The dead person conceals itself during combat. It is not a viable target for direct fire. Saturation attack by artillery/heavy air/orbital fire may have good effect, although Guardians transmit frequently and refuse to assemble into large formations. Solitary dead persons have been observed in all areas of operation. The relationship between solitary and paired dead persons remains unclear. Psion analysis indicates that specific areas are inimical to Guardian counter-attritional reconstruction. Phobos Command has initiated an orbital survey. BL-1-2 will attack the Vex Gate artifact in Meridian Bay to secure possible related intelligence. Flare analysis suggests that the Hive have developed unconventional counter-dead person capability. The capture of Hive leadership might yield vital strategic intelligence, including weapons or tactics capable of defeating Guardians permanently. We advance that the Hive fleet group near Saturn presents a strong target. Of course, an argument against my theory here is that these communications are too recent. Only 2 years passed between the time the signal was sent to Gaul and when he arrived in the system. A local city conspiracy theorist claims that there was someone working on the inside that prevented Guardians from finding out about Gaul's initial invasion, and I'm inclined to believe him. Of course, what does that hold when talking to a Warlock who's been out of the city for nearly 200 years gathering intel? I'll have to examine this further. Until then, I'll continue to relay these reports to any Guardians willing to listen. Be weary of all in this world, Guardian. I have a feeling that not all is as it seems to be. Erik Vitez, signing off.